Hello, and welcome to another Star Trek movie review where we have now crossed into the next generation line of movies with Star Trek 7, Star Trek Generations.
Data. The sensors can't penetrate the planet's ionosphere. There's too much interference. Can you find a way to scan for life forms?
I would be happy to, sir. I just love scanning for life forms. Life forms. You tiny little life forms. You precious little life forms. Where are you?
Now, this one, a lot of people don't like, as evident on Rotten Tomatoes. It sits at a 48%, I believe, on critic scores and 54 in terms of audience score. And then on Letterboxd, it's a flat 3.0. Based on the amount of reviews that Letterboxd has received over the years. And as I mentioned in the past, growing up, joining the Star Trek community, I have always been told that the odd number Star Treks are the worst, and the even number Star Treks are the best. Now, obviously, that isn't actually the case because I actually like a lot of the odd number Star Trek movies, like Star Trek the Motion Picture, The Search for Spock, The Final Frontier, and even this one, Star Trek Generations. I did not mind it whatsoever. I thought it was a pretty good movie. The only issue that I had with it was in the beginning part, where Data is constantly laughing due to the malfunctioning of the emotion chip, which he received back, I believe, in season 5/season 6 with Descent parts 1 and 2. The one where Hugh returns with the other disconnected Borg that are led by Lore. So yeah, I didn't mind it. So the plot of Star Trek Generations actually starts on with the Enterprise B, an Excelsior class ship. Now, this is the first time we've seen the Enterprise B on screen because up to this point in 1994, during the film's release, the only Enterprises we had seen on screen were, of course, the original Constitution class, the Constitution refit, the Enterprise A, C, and D. We hadn't seen the Enterprise B, which we did know was an Excelsior class because obviously in the ready room, or not the ready room, in the briefing room of the Enterprise D, there's a wall of gold-plated starships of former Enterprise ships, and amongst those was obviously a Galaxy class representing the Enterprise B. And in the Star Trek: The Next Generation technical manual, um, it lists a bunch of ships, including the at that point the Enterprises, and it listed the Enterprise B as an Excelsior class that hadn't been seen on screen yet. So we finally have confirmation that it is a variant of the Excelsior. There was a few modifications done to the Excelsior to make it look that bit different. And so we get introduced to her captain, John Harriman, who, if memory serves correct, in beta canon, only got the captain's job out of nepotism because his father was an admiral. And he obviously was scared and now wanted to prove himself that it wasn't just because he was the Nepo baby. And the helmsman is, a Sulu, Captain Sulu's daughter. And also on there is Tim Russ, as just credited as lieutenant. Whether or not that's actually a Lieutenant Tuvok, we don't really know. He's just credited as lieutenant, and obviously at that point, Tuvok hadn't been, created as a character yet. Or he was. I forget when Star Trek Voyager, it started airing. Uh, but then, obviously, they get a red alert, obviously, during the shakedown cruise where they were just going to Pluto and back. And they didn't even have a full crew. Because a lot of the stuff that they needed for this rescue mission wouldn't be arriving until Tuesday, when they would obviously go out properly outside of the shakedown cruise. And so, yeah, it turns out it's two Elorian ships that are fleeing from the destruction of their homeworld by the Borg. And one thing leads to another. Captain Kirk is killed. I have to put that in air quotes because he doesn't die here. He dies at the end of the movie. Anyway, so now we fast forward 78 years, and Picard gets a very upsetting message that his whole extended family have perished in a fire. His brother, his nephew, and his nephew's mother, and his brother's wife are all deceased. So that makes him the last Picard until we get to, Star Trek Picard season 3. But that's neither here nor there. Um, at the same time, there's an attack on this space station. They discovered that, some Romulans were there. They think it was a Romulan attack, which it technically was. But off in the distance, there is a cloaked Klingon bird of prey holding none other than the recurring annoyance to our Mr. Worf, the Duras sisters. And they're all, they're planning something. Soren, who is one of the Elorian survivors, who is obsessed with getting back to this place called the Nexus, is helping them. Geordi gets captured. They figure out what Soren is up to, and they go to Viridian 3. They get Geordi back. Picard beams down, tries to talk Soren out of it. That doesn't work. And they both end up in the Nexus. Whilst that's happening, just before sending Geordi back, they hacked into his visor so they can see what he sees, kind of. And they get the Enterprise's shield frequencies and just decides to open fire. Why? Because the Duras sisters are fucking idiots, that's why. But they get a lot of good cheap shots in on the Enterprise, which looks phenomenal in this movie. I thought it looked amazing just in standard definition, but seeing it on the Blu-ray version, it looks beautiful, and I'm sure it looks absolutely amazing on the 4K. But as I said, I don't collect 4Ks. But yeah, so they end up destroying the bird of prey, reusing stock footage from Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, and Picard meets up with Kirk. They then go back to Viridian 3. They stop Soren, and Kirk dies, and his final words being "Oh my." Now, there's a lot of debate over why Kirk says "Oh my." A lot of people subscribe to the theory that it's him realizing he can't cheat death anymore. But on my rewatch of Star Trek V, I think it's because he knew he was right when he said to McCoy and Spock that without them being there or his friends being there, he knows he's going to die alone. And whilst Picard was there, that doesn't matter. Kirk doesn't know Picard at all, and so that's my theory of why he probably said "Oh my" as he died, realizing that there's no escaping death this time. And so then the movie ends. So yeah, like I said, I thought it was a good movie. Normally with my rewatches on some of these movies, I come away appreciating it a lot more. Not this time. Like I said, it's a good movie. I don't. The only issue I have, of course, is towards the beginning with Data and the motion chip, but that's easily ignorable because it doesn't stay for very long. But yeah, I just didn't walk away from this loving it that bit more, or loving or hating it that bit more. I'm still enjoy it. It's a good movie. But here is a little fun fact that I know. If you notice on certain characters where their uniforms seem to be a lot shorter or a lot longer on them, the reason being is that's not the original uniforms they actually had, from the end of filming for uh, Star Trek TNG. Um, what they're wearing is loaned uniforms from Deep Space Nine. So I believe Riker's wearing Cisco's uniform, and I think Geordi is wearing O'Brien's uniform. And then the last bit of trivia that I have last two bits of trivia that I have, there was going to be a different style of uniform for this movie. They thought about redesigning the uniform slightly. They didn't, but obviously when action figures went into production, they got their hands on the rough sketches, and that's why if you buy figures from Star Trek Generations, they actually have this lost era uniform that we never got to see on screen. So that's a little something for you. The last thing that I have is in relation to the Enterprise D filming model. Um, and that is before putting it away in storage, they changed the registry from the Enterprise D to the Enterprise E, just in case they wanted to go the same route of back in the original series movies where when they christened a new Enterprise A, they kept it being the Constitution refit. But obviously that didn't happen because we got the very, very sleek and beautiful Sovereign class Enterprise E. And then the Enterprise D model with the Enterprise E registry did sell at auction back in 2006 when Paramount were sold a lot of this stuff. I can't remember the exact price that model sold for, but that's a few nuggets of information there for you. So thank you all for watching. That is going to wrap up my review for Star Trek Generations. Looking to what's next, the next review is going to be of Hot Fuzz. So yes, I'm continuing on with the Cornetto trilogy revisits, and yeah, I'll see you all. I believe I'll see you Wednesday if things are correct. So I'll see you on Wednesday.